WrestleMania, such a big part of my childhood. We're up to 39. It makes me feel old. The peak of civilization, of course, was WrestleMania 3. We continue to grasp for something to match the Pontiac Silverdome. We were in the best stadium in the world, in SoFi, in LA. My wrestling compadres, my tag team, 𝗪𝗿𝗀𝗀𝗧. Nims, welcome.
Thank you, Gerard. Great to be here again.
Max Laughton, great colleague at Fox. Max, thanks for coming in.
Gerard, pleasure.
All right. So how good was SoFi as a venue for a WrestleMania?
I think it made a lot of sense. They love tying themselves to Super Bowls, WWE. They, in fact, ideally would be going in a venue before a Super Bowl so they can claim a higher crowd figure. But it was an incredible spectacle, and it is a spectacular venue.
It was fantastic. And, Gerard, I could only think of when you were there calling the Super Bowl, because it looked amazing on screen, like with the screens. And it's also one of those weird hybrid stadiums, isn't it, where it's sunken down just a little bit. Somehow it just added to the spectacle with the LED boards, and it just seemed very, very Hollywood, even though I'm pretty sure SoFi is not that much in Hollywood.
No, but it does have that. That was the trappings that the Super Bowl had. They wanted Hollywood as big part of it. Best screens of stadium in the world, certainly the best sound of the stadium in the world, so ideally suited to it. Okay, so best match, Nims?
I would have to say it was... Well, it's a toss-up because you had Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns on night 2. On night 1, you had the Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, which is arguably one of the greatest storylines in wrestling, even beating the Mega Powers Exploder for Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage from back in the day. Gunther versus Sheamus and Drew McIntyre was also a fantastic match. And a blood feud, Rey Mysterio versus his son Dominic, also was another highlight. But we can't look away from Adelaide's own Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. And Max, you and I, we've both chatted to Rhea Ripley in the past. In fact, you had an interview with her fairly recently as well. And that girl, she's only 26, and just how much of a superstar is she?
She's so composed and knows who she is, which is so important in wrestling. She came in at a pretty early age, getting picked up from Adelaide, I think Riot City Wrestling. She had a lot to do with them over there. Yep. And she grew into her character. She's developed into this hardcore punk, black, everything, piercings woman, and she knows exactly what she needs to be. And she has become somewhat of a cult figure. Her feud with Charlotte Flair, she wasn't necessarily supposed to be cheered, but everyone enjoys her work so much and her character that she has become one of the biggest women superstars they've had over the last half decade at least.
So the crossover moment is there on the front page of the Adelaide Advertiser yesterday, as was rightly pointed out in our Snap Judgments, is this was the weekend of a showdown and Rhea Ripley carried the front page of the Tizer.
What was actually interesting too is, so on the eve of the showdown, like Rhea Ripley, she's also an Adelaide Crows fan, and there's a contingent of Adelaide superstars in the WWE, which also sees Duke Hudson. He's another guy that's in NXT. He goes for the Crows as well, a very passionate Crows supporter. And then you've got Bronson Reed, who you've spoke to previously, Gerard, who is a mad Port supporter. Now, on the eve of the showdown, the Adelaide Crows on their Twitter have put up, with a graphic and everything, a tweet to wish her well in her match against Charlotte Flair.
And Port did not, so I think we can say that being associated with wrestling wins you a showdown, clearly.
Best celebrity appearance?
Well, Snoop Dogg, because he saved a segment that was otherwise catastrophic. Shane McMahon makes a surprise return, as he seems to do every couple of years. And like his father Vince did one day, one Royal Rumble, tears his quad during a segment. So he's supposed to be having a little bit of a brawl with The Miz and suddenly falls to the ground. What do? Well, Snoop Dogg calls it on the fly, gets in the ring, punches out The Miz, the host of WrestleMania, drops a people's elbow, The Rock's finisher, and saves the day incredibly. Like, here's the natural talent that you would not expect.
Even though Snoop Dogg did very well, there was another great appearance that I had no idea was going to happen, and that was Pat McAfee. Now, Pat McAfee has been in the WWE world for a fair bit. He's been a commentator on SmackDown, but obviously he's got NFL commitments. He's got that college show.
The College Game Day, the biggest show about college football every week. He's on that now.
And I know that he's got a new child as well, so that's taking up his commitment. So anytime you see an unexpected Pat McAfee, not just in wrestling, but anywhere, it's always a treat. And he had also an impromptu match with The Miz, so The Miz really earned his paycheck that night.
Working both nights. And then Logan Paul as well, who is the most natural non-wrestler I've seen in my entire life. He lives the gimmick. He is a heel in real life, and he brings that to the ring and just understands every single little thing you need to know how to be a superstar pro wrestler. And then he gets in the ring and has this match with Seth Rollins, which is incredible. And it's part promotion for his drink and all that. That's quite fun. But his just natural ability and athleticism and the way he knows how to tie it into every single key part of pro wrestling is remarkable.
Biggest miss?
Well, the main event, wouldn't it be?
Oh, all right. So let's go into the main event. So every WrestleMania lives in its main event. Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes. So Aaron set us up. It felt like the changeover moment, and they didn't go with it.
It did seem to be they missed out on lightning in a bottle. And the best way that I could describe it, I just spoke to you about this beforehand. Like, this was a match that did deliver. It had the cadence, it had everything, the big moments, the shenanigans. A top to bottom 5-star match. But you could hear a pin drop in SoFi Stadium when Roman Reigns pinned Cody Rhodes. The best way I could describe it is it's like the finale of The Sopranos. We have all this build up, such great storytelling, and then it just ends. There wasn't any journey, but it just ended, and everyone had the life sucked out of them. It was, someone also in the office described it as, imagine Frodo getting to Mount Doom, and then at the very end, Saruman just kills him. That's what it was.
Yeah. What will WrestleMania 39 be remembered for?
I think it'll always be remembered for the culmination of the Sami Zayn and Bloodline story because, as I said, it's the best storyline that has ever happened in wrestling, full stop. Mega powers explode, the New World Order in WCW, even Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon. This has been the best story ever told in wrestling. And the Usos losing such a historic tag team reign on night one is what will define it. But also, that Bloodline story peels over into night two. And much like Luke Skywalker apparently falling to his death in Empire Strikes Back, that is the everlasting memory that we always will have. We'll remember the good, but we'll always remember Luke just giving up.
It's very much like last year's AFL season. We had this incredible run with great storylines and great matches, probably the best in-ring WrestleMania we've ever had. And then you have the grand final, which was a little bit of a dud.
Star rating?
4? 4 out of 5?
I'd say 4.5. It did have its flaws, but it was still absolutely phenomenal from top to bottom. There wasn't a moment that this two-night format that WrestleMania seems to have now is great because we all remember the 7-hour marathons where you did have to set aside an entire day to watch it, whereas now it sort of breaks it up and it makes for a good event.
All right, so we're happy with WrestleMania?
There'd be a lot of people out there that wouldn't be happy with the ending, but I think would be happy with the overall product. And just looking at the Temper 40 Winks text at the moment, there does seem to be a lot of people that have their own sort of theories about what will happen next for Roman Reigns. One of which I didn't think of here. Whoever's texted in on a number ending in 985 with Gunther beating Reigns. I think no one saw that one coming.
Well, he's a very, very good wrestler. I would enjoy that from a personality perspective.
All right. Until next year, WrestleMania 40
in Philadelphia.
In Philly. Oh, Philly fans are special sports fans.
Oh, boy.
That's really... Max, Nims, terrific. Just a... Shh. We know. Friends wasn't real either. Game of Thrones, we know. It's all right. We're finished now. Dwayne, next.